Good afternoon, everyone. In my today's presentation about Indian English literature post-independence, my topic is comparison between Nissim Ezekiel's The Patriot and the Robert Browning's poem with the same title. This is my information, and in the presentation we are going to see about both the poets, definition of patriot, Nissim Ezekiel's poem, Robert Browning's poem, comparison between them. Beginning with the introduction of the poem, Nissim Ezekiel is an Indian Jewish poet who studied in Mumbai and was a Jew. He is a foundational figure in the post-colonial India's literary history, and he is applauded for the subtle, restrained, and well-crafted diction dealing with common and simple themes. He is also considered as the father of modern Indian English poetry by many critics. He has been honored with the Padma Shri Award by the President in 1988 and Sahitya Akademi Cultural Award in 1983. He is an Indian Jewish poet, and Robert Browning is an English poet playwright whose dramatic monologues put him high among the Victorian poets. He is noted for irony, characterization, dark humor, social commentary, historical settings, and challenging vocabulary and syntax. Looking at the definition of a patriot, it is a noun, and the word means one who loves and supports his or her country. According to the Merriam-Webster and according to Oxford, a person who loves their country and who is ready to defend it against an enemy. Here we see in the definition, it is saying a person who is loving a country and is ready to support and defend from the enemy. But when we will see the poem of these two writers, we will realize they have changed. We are getting a different meaning of a patriot. Traditional patriotic poems we have also studied, like the Soldier by Rupert Brooke, and it is a sweet and the fitting to die for one's country by Wilfred Owen. Uh, Both these poems are talking about soldiers who are in army. The poems are war poems who are in army and the suffer what the soldiers are going through is described in this poem. Looking at Nissim Ezekiel's poem, it was published in 1977. It is a commentary on post-independence of India. Here we while reading the poem, we realize that the poet is trying to criticize the changing habits of Indians after independence. But we also get a question that is he criticizing India or the changing habits of Indians? The language he has used is very simple, the language which we use in a regular life, being an Indian. And it is in the first person, as the first line itself says, I am standing for peace and non-violence. He has exaggerated Indian English language and he has used present continuous tense uh, more simultaneously. In every sentence, we will see ing, like, but modern generation is neglecting too much going for a fashion and foreign thing. Here in the line itself, we see that Ezekiel is criticizing the new generation, post-independent generation, for going too much for fashion and foreign thing. But in the very next line, Ezekiel is writing that other day I am reading newspaper. That newspaper is also a Times of India, which he is using for improving his own English language. And here the poet himself is contradicting with himself. In this poem, Ezekiel is trying to reject the non Indian influences. The poem is humorous, it is a satire, it is irony also, and hypocrisy of poet is also seen as we saw in the before lines. This poetry is also criticizing the happenings of India. This poem is in 1977 when there was emergency announced by Indira Gandhi, and the words sentence like regeneration, remuneration, and contraception were used in that. emergency for the forced sterilization of the people to control population. He is comparing wine and lassi. He himself is comparing the foreign drink and the Indian drink, and the words also he is using is completely total. We might see that when we are communicating in our class or in our society, we use words like it is completely different, or like it is different. અલગ અલગ વસ્તુ છે એવું કહેવા માટે અલગ અલગ ને different, and that type of language is used in this poem also. Here the question we feel is he criticizing India or is acclaiming India? He is talking a lot about India for using such language, over using of ing in the language, bringing the our own native language in English by using different. So is this is a criticism of India or is trying to normalize the thing? This is the question seen here. Here we also see Indianness when he is referring to Gandhiji, and he is also in a hope that one day India will be a Ram Rajya where there will be no fights among states or there will be no fights among nations. Here he is trying to say that India doesn't want to fight. India is wishing for a world peace, but Pakistan is behaving like this and China is behaving like that. The regular language which is used in our communication is also seen here. Now, looking at Robert Browning's poem, The Patriot, it was published in 1855. It is a tragic tale, dramatic monologue, and irony. It is divided into 6 stanzas, and rhyming scheme is A B A B A. In this poem, one person, there is no description of any incidents what happened with the person, but as we are reading the poem in the first two stanza, it is described that the person who is coming to a countryman who is coming to his country is feeling accomplished. Everyone is celebrating him and welcoming him, while in the end we see that that person, a countryman, is taken for the execution. He is going to be punished for some type of crime. Here the main lesson or moral or theme the Robert Browning is telling is about a philosophical truth of existence. One person might be important at a particular period of time, but society might not remember the good deeds. One time a person is doing anything bad or harmful, he or she will be definitely punished. Here, this poem is a harsh critique of public sentiment and morality. In this poem, as it is projecting the philosophical truth of existence, which is also mentioned in Shakespeare's play As You Like It, which is all the world's stage and all the men and women merrily players. They have their exit and their entrance. This is the truth of existence in Shakespeare's play, and this poem says, "Thus I entered and thus I go." Comparing these two poems, as we define the word patriot, and so the traditional patriotic poems where soldiers are given a more priority. Here we see that under the title of patriot, poets are criticizing society and criticizing or acclaiming society. The similarity in both this poem is it is an irony, satire, and hypocrisy is seen. Both these poems are monologue. In Ezekiel's poem, at the end, in the last 3 lines, we realize that someone is sitting against him and he is talking and now he is going. The title in both the poems are failing to give the gist of the poem. Both are the critique of a nation or a public. Different from traditional poems, both are having an hopeful end. In Ezekiel's poem, we see that he is hoping for a Ram Rajya, and in this poem, Robert Browning's poem, the poet is hoping in the last that the society is not able to give, is failing to give balance, or for is failing to forgive countrymen, but he might get the justice in the heaven, justice from the God. And both this poem is trying to bring a new type of patriot. A patriot by Nissim Ezekiel brought out is to acclaim or to criticize the nation as being a uh, good nationalist. And in the next poem, Robert Browning's poem, the patriot is one who is successfully able to see how the society is and is trying to make society aware that what is happening and what society is doing. The contrast is Ezekiel's poem seems to be humorous, while Browning's poem seems to be tragic. The Ezekiel's poem doesn't have a perfect rhyming scheme. It has a more use of ing, present continuous tense, while Robert's poem is having a specific rhyming scheme. The use of language in both the poems are different. Ezekiel talks about the post-independent India, while Browning is talking about the philosophy of existence. The Ezekiel's poem is having the reference of historical event of emergency by Indira Gandhi, while the next poem by Browning has a myth of Icarus. These are my work cited. Thank you.
See, my question is that what difference is seen in people's attitude towards the patriot early and now the patriot?
In the Robert Browning's poem, first when there is no specific description of an incident that why everyone is celebrating two countrymen and then why he is being executed. There is no specific any clarification. But the way he is celebrated and welcome, we can interpret that he might have returned from the war or some have won some fight which might be like great achievement for the country. And in the end there is one hint of a myth of Icarus, and that in that myth one it is a father and Icarus is a child, and father is giving him a wings of wax, and because they wanted to come out from the prison, they were giving he gave him wings and told him not to go near the sun because the wax might melt and he might die by falling down. But as he got wings, Icarus got over ambitious and he went near the sun and then fell down as the wings were melted and he fell into the sea and he died. Same thing with the theme. Here we can interpret with the myth. We can interpret that the patriot with so much love from the countrymen might got over ambitious and started doing something which might have hurted or might be harmful for the countrymen, and for that he might be going for the execution, which is in the end of the poem.
Zil, you can find any language difference in Nizam Iskin the patriotic and Robert Brown is the patriot.
Yes, in both the poem, there is a large difference in the usage of the language. Nissim Ezekiel is using Indian English language, where we find the words like different. In the name of Indira Gandhi, we see Indira Band, the reference to Lassi, and the clear Indian words are used. And there is an exaggerated and overuse of present continuous tense, that is ing, and the language like we use in our native like alag and different such type of language is used, while in Robert Browning's poem we see it has a good syntax in language. It uses high English language words which can be said as a British language. He is using myth, allegory, and various types which can be called a specific English poem. Thank you.